Supersonic acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars. It's a mouthful, so we'll just call it battle cars for short. The game has enjoyed a relatively successful, if criminally uncelebrated life, since its year release. The online servers are still thriving, but is the game still worth the $7.99 you'll be forking out for it? 11 months down the line? Let's find out.
Well, it's football with cars. That's pretty much the synopsis, except... That's right, it's a football game of cars that, as well as travelling at sound barrier breaking speeds, jumping, flipping, boosting, dodging, drifting and doing handbrake turns, fly. We better be careful. We almost use as many verbs just there as the game's name as adjectives.
If you plan on going into your first game and flying straight off the bat, don't. The learning curve is steep. Don't take that the wrong way though, it's a good challenge. The feeling you get when you first successfully hit a high ball, or even better, score an aerial goal, is unbelievable. Give it a few weeks and you'll be hitting it every time. PSYONIX certainly achieved their goal of making the game multi-layered. While the basics are simple enough to learn, the harder moves, like a backwards aerial, seem impossible at first. The impossible is only one part of the game though. Timing your jumps and boosts are arguably more important if you plan on hitting the ball with any speed or accuracy. There is no auto-aim in the game, it's just physics. So where you hit the ball is where it's going.
The aim of the game, like real football, is to score more goals than the opponent. This is where the game lacks, its content. There aren't many options to play around with here. The only variable seems to be the number of people playing. Ranging from 1v1 to 4v4 though, every match feels different. You are locked in at a 5-minute time limit both online or against bots in a quick match, with whoever scores the most goals in the set time winning. If the scores are tied when it finishes, overtime is played. Trust me, these can get pretty intense as it's a simple case of goal and goal, next goal wins. For some reason, the single player tournament mode is locked at 3 minutes instead of 5, making it much harder.
The mechanics are simple, and the tutorials do a great job of explaining everything from absolute basics such as lowly jumps to the much harder aerials. You want to do the minigame second, before you dare go online, and quite frankly, the game is all about the multiplayer.
Lovers of playing with friends won't be left disappointed. 8 players can play at once, 4 on any one console using split screen, using any conceivable combination of split screen players and online players. For example, if my friend was round and I wanted to play against him with a random partner for each of us, I could search for an unranked match and put us both on different teams, each one of us teaming with our respective match-made partners. If there were 4 of us, we could do the same. It is important to note that, by design, you cannot play split-screen ranked matches, only unranked and team. You could try your luck against the game's bots. The difficulty levels range from easy to hard, but relatively experienced players should have absolutely no problem thrashing an AI opponent even on the hardest difficulty.
Aside from the split-screen aspect, the game's online works very well. The servers are P2P, so don't be surprised if you come across the odd laggy host. But on the whole, most players have full green bars and minimal lag, just like against bots. You can have 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 and 4v4 game modes. Unfortunately, 4v4s lag about 95% of the time in online, so if you have 7 other mates with you in a game and you fancy a big match, make sure you choose your host carefully.
Upon entering the online menu, you are asked whether you want to play a ranked, unranked or team game. Ranked and unranked are as you'd expect, but team games are where it gets interesting. You and up to 4 others on your friends list, or on split screen, create and play in your own team. After naming your team, you are free to challenge any other who happens to be online. While ranked and unranked matchmaking seems bullet fast, matchmaking a team match often takes an exceptionally long time. The reason for this is unclear, but, eventually, you find yourself in a game against another user-created team. You play the same format as any other online game, 5 minutes, most goals wins, but this time, instead of playing for yourself, you are playing for your team, and it's the team's rating which matters.
Even after all this time, the servers are often packed throughout the day in Europe. In America, less so, but we are led to believe that there is always a game or two running across the pond as well. The sheer amount of players still on the game is down to 2 things. 1, the game itself being so addictively brilliant, you can't get enough. The second is the strong developer support the title has received. The game's release contained just 3 maps until a 4th, Cosmic, was added for free a few months later. Back in August, a further 2 maps were added, absolutely free again. For a relatively small-time dev team, that's seriously impressive, and generous.
The game's default music is pretty awful, so it's nice to see custom music enter the fray. While you cannot access songs directly from your XMB, you can listen to your own music by changing the game's music settings to custom. This works very well, as it allows you to change the song you are listening to in-game by simply tapping right on the D-pad.
Scoring a goal or completely demolishing an opponent creates a pretty satisfying explosion that shakes your camera. The big bangs look pretty good, fitting the game's laid-back graphical style without looking out of place.
Put it like this, you won't mistake this game for Crysis or Uncharted. The game's graphics are nothing to boast about, but it would be cruel to say they were bad as such. They seem to fit the game's style very well, and their almost cartoonish appeal suits the game down to the ground. The maps themselves vary greatly from one another. As mentioned, there are 6 in total, which literally come in all different shapes, sizes and themes. From the obvious choice of a football pitch to the newly added pirate ship, every map has its own personality. Urban is your basic rectangular map, and its simplicity seems to attract a lot of online players. It is also probably the easiest map to do extravagant shots on.
The game is an extremely intuitive replay editor. In fact, it's probably the best replay editor we've seen in the game so far, PSN or otherwise. You can pick and choose exactly which angles you want to record and also change the speed of which it plays back. Then, of course, you can upload directly to YouTube once you're happy with the finished product. To check out the replay quality, click here.
The trophies are seemingly designed to get people playing online. One from single player is particularly tough. It's a gold. The All-Star trophy will take you a very long time to get. What you have to do is earn every single star in the game, in both the mini-games and the single-player tournament. It will take months of going back to every now and then. There's nothing worse than missing out on the last star by half a second. Luckily, there are guides, written by the devs themselves, for single player. Check out the video description for a link.
We mentioned that the servers are often full, and they are, but the game also has a very strong community, tied together by its forum. After all this time, it's still thriving, so if you want to find a game against a good player, it's the place to look. PSYONIX, the game's developers, are also regular posters, so if you ask them a question, you'll likely get a response. Another thing to mention is that the game has rumble support for your DualShock 3. This is a really nice touch.
The execution of the game is as good as the conception, and we can't sing its praises enough. With a strong community, full servers and supportive devs, it's hard to see this game going away for a long time. If you are still unsure, the game's demo is essentially the full game but with a time limit, so go try and see for yourself. We're sure that the cost won't be enough to stop you from buying it.